What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Innovative Seller. This is going to be your go-to show to learn what's new, what's interesting in the world of sales and technology. Every single week, we're going to be bringing you interviews with some of the most forward-thinking thought leaders in the space. You get a chance to ask me questions in our Q&A section, and I'll break down the top trends in sales processes and technology every single show. So sit back and let's get into it. What's up, everyone? Episode 6, Innovative Seller Show. Really excited for today's conversation. We've got an amazing interview with leaders from Rev.com, OpenAI, maybe you've heard of them, and as always, a good buddy of mine, Kevin Dorsey. I'm going to talk sales process trend, and this one actually is a little bit for marketing, a little bit for sales. Today, I'm going to break down a little bit around what customers are actually asking for from B2B companies and what they're maybe getting. I'm going to talk a little tech trends, okay? Tech trends. I'm going to talk about why can't you actually measure your funnel correctly? Why is it for some reason we can't figure out lead attribution so we know what's actually working? I'm going to give you a plan to fix that. So tune in. It's going to be a fun one. Marketers, it is time for a little love to you as well too. Well, maybe by the end of this, you might not think of it that way. But to this week's sales trend is also one for my marketers. And really, a lot of this goes back to, again, hopefully at this point, you've got your copy of Innovative Seller, you've poured through it. You know, one of the things that we talk about is we talk about the importance of people being able to learn and to guide the way they want to guide. And I'm talking about buyers here. And so I'm going to talk about two things right now that every B2B marketing and B2B sales organization needs to be thinking about right now. The first one, self-guided demos. That's right, my friends. We need to move away from this world of the only way I can see the product is to hop on a call with somebody. Nobody's got time for that. People do not want to just sit in front of a computer to hear the same demo that's copy and pasted from one rep, from one call to the next. People want custom. They want to do things on their own terms. So first, I want you to think about this concept of persona-specific demos. In every sales cycle, right, and we talk about that in the book, we talk about this idea of teams. There are day-to-day usage teams and there are business and impact teams, right? So you want to have some demos that are really geared toward like, hey, here's how you're going to use this in your day-to-day. Maybe one for admins. Hey, here's admin settings. Here are the cool things that you can do. Maybe it's just 4 or 5 minutes so people can self-guide and be like, oh, wow, that's something that might be able to impact my team. On the flip side, maybe you want a demo that's more geared toward the executive branch, right? Something that's more geared toward like, hey, look, when teams are implementing this, this is the benefit to the company as a whole. This is the potential ROI. So we want to have not just these one-size-fits-all demos. We want to have things that are specific for each team or each persona. Number 2. Okay, I can hear some people right now like, oh, Jake, I don't know if we could do this. Let's talk about pricing, right? And transparency, no bullshit pricing, right? Gone are the days of like request a quote and not letting me understand what it's going to cost. My friends, guess what? They probably already know. If they're coming to you and they're coming inbound, they've probably already talked to like 5 or 6 other people, or they're maybe using your competitors, so they already have an idea. So again, the benefits here around being transparent is imagine somebody who's in their deal cycle, right? And they're like, all right, I'm looking at these 3 different possible solutions. One company has got transparency, here's how the pricing changes, and the other 2 are like request a quote, or you have to talk to somebody. You're going to be much more likely, and just think about your own selves. Close your own eyes and think about who would I actually want to buy from? Somebody who's going to like hide things, not really tell me what's happening. I can't like see a demo online or anything. I don't know pricing, or the company that really gives me different things that I need to self-guide. You, I'm guessing all of you, would also pick the company that's more transparent. So the trend for today is transparency and ease of use. So I want you to think about that. Marketers, what are we doing to give people access to more information? They're already getting it from other places. Why not get it from you too? Same thing from the demo, right? They're already getting it from your reps. And when's the last time you sat in on one of your reps demos and to see if it was even customized to the team? But why not try to control that by having different demos for different persona types? And pricing's pretty straightforward. You know, look, if your product is super dynamic and you want to make sure you have a range, that's fine, right? But give people what they want. Give them transparency. So That, my friends, is this week's sales process slash marketing process trend that I hope you all can go run with. As usual, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe, sign up for the little notification so you get every update on all the new episodes that we're dropping.
Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody to the very first pillar we're going to be talking about. Now, you already heard from Jake on what exactly we're doing here today, where we have the 4 C's. And the first C is around committing to technology and AI proficiency. Now, most people, when you hear AI, you think it's going to take over the world. You might be afraid. I have no idea. Maybe you're excited. You're excited as well. So let us know in the chat if you're excited about AI or you're absolutely terrified. But we have people here today that are going to make you feel way more confident in AI, be more proficient in AI, and some takeaways that you can use right after this, whether you use ChatGPT or other use cases we're going to be talking about today. And these people we have today are going to share stories and tactical information on what they've done to be successful within their own teams when it comes to AI and their organizations. So that being said, let's introduce the people we have here today. So we have Keith. Shout out to Keith. We've known each other for a while. He is incredible on the systems and ops side. Advisor at Sonar, founding member of the Wizard of Ops Slack community, which, by the way, that's a fantastic name, Wizard of Ops. And his background is all in go-to-market systems. So all the functions, all the RevOps, he has a long history on operational growth and making sure that's successful. So you're going to hear a lot on the ops side from Keith. And then we have Meg, who's the VP of Rev Operations at Rev, dynamic sales leader and RevOps leader. You're going to learn a lot from her on how she's taking this RevOps engines to drive revenue growth and how she's done this with teams across the board. And then last but not least, you have KD with his signature black hat here to moderate the panel. He is going to be diving in how he's already told me he has crazy prompts, crazy things that he's doing. He's shown me a couple of them. He's done a couple episodes with Jake on this already. So you all will be in a treat as he guides us through the conversation today around how to be more proficient with your tools, but also with AI. So with that, I'm going to hand this off to KD and hope you all enjoy the session as the first 4C.
Thank you so much, Morgan. No, I love you, my dude. Absolutely love you. So really, really excited to be a part of this session and to be on here with people significantly smarter than me on this type of stuff. So I get to learn today as well, because there's one thing to do it as a leader, but it's another thing to talk about people that know how to build the systems, the processes to make it scalable and everything else. So Meg, Keith, excited to dive in with you here. Thanks for joining. We ready for this?
Let's go.
Let's go. Awesome. So it's going to be a little bit of back and forth as we go through this session where we're kind of talking about stories and tactics, because we want to really grasp like kind of what's going through our heads in these moments, but then also tactically what we are doing about it. And so the first question I wanted to start off with here is a fun one. I'll throw it to you here, Meg, first, is like, what was like the aha moment? Like, what was the moment where you saw what was happening with AI and generative, all the chat GPTs, where you're like, whoa, like this is going to be a thing? Like, what was that like that light bulb moment?
Yeah, we talk about speed to market a lot as a strategy. So how do you get in front of trends or competitors and how do you close deals at a more rapid and consistent pace? But that can require a lot of different tools, or it can require some really great smart ones. And you limit the tools in a sales rep's tool belt to what they absolutely need. And you eliminate those non-revenue generating activities. And I think that's where I see AI fitting in the most is like, that's my light bulb moment of like, man, not only could that be better because AI is continuously learning, but it may make our reps work smarter, faster, stronger because they're not having to do the legwork that those non-revenue generating activities.
Do you remember where you were though? Do you remember like what you saw or like what was the moment where you're like, oh shit?
Ooh, what did I see? I want to say it probably was at Rev. Our first, we have a Zoom ASR integration that we use for summarization, and I saw the first summary, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, that's slick. I like it." So, I think it just even just within my platform itself was probably my light bulb moment.
There we go. What about you, Keith? And you have a front row seat to it now, but I'm curious, like, what for you was that moment of like, ooh, I need to be on this, and maybe I want to get in on all of this. What was that moment?
So I had a really fun moment, and you're right, Katie. Like, I do have a front row seat as a staff member at OpenAI today, but I was not working for OpenAI when I like to say that like ChatGPT kind of broke the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was working as an analyst at Gartner at that time. What that meant is that I was doing a lot of writing. I had the privilege of publishing a lot of different research articles on a variety of things that we'll probably touch on today. But one thing I'm not, and at least I would say I wasn't before I went to Gartner, I'm not a professional writer. There are just things I've not been formally trained in, right? And thankfully, I had a lot of resources, including my own manager, who would kind of redline and audit my work here and there to kind of spice it up, spruce it up, make it better. And in the same way that I have made a habit of Googling things, right? Like we all have, whether we want to admit it or not, we, can't store everything we need up here. I found myself able to go to ChatGPT just to tweak and refine things based on the information it's been trained on that it inherently knows a little bit better than me. One really good example was like correcting whenever I use passive voice in my writing when I want to be more active, right? It's just a bad habit that I have as a writer. And I was able to lean on this sort of teammate, this thing I might go and Google, like, how do you avoid passive voice? But instead I could say, hey, rewrite this so I'm not using passive voice. That's a heck of a lot faster. So that was definitely kind of the first eye-opening moment for me where I was like, how much quicker can I get from A to Z when I do this versus trying to do all the math myself, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I still know my first moment was like, actually I was using a different app before OpenAI allowed it, where like you could upload your own content into it.
Yeah.
That was like, because I saw what it was doing, I was like, all right, like this is clever, like this is gonna be a thing. And then the moment I was able to upload one of my own trainings and then ask it questions, I was like, oh, okay. This just got really, really interesting, maybe a little scary throughout all of it. But that was the moment. And then it was actually 2 months later, I was having a dinner with Jake at Pint House Pizza, and I was talking to him about all this, and his mind went, whoa. And now here we are today talking about it live. So I'm very curious, other people, if you had a moment, like what was the first thing you saw? Drop that in the chat. I'm just curious, like what's pulled people along in this. And so let's kind of keep actually going down this path, right? So, we have the moment, we have like that aha, and I think we've all now taken time to get really, really like into it, right? And so actually, Keith, I'm going to throw this one over to you, right? Because I was on your LinkedIn, right? And I actually love that on your LinkedIn, you're one of the few people, like literally you tell people how to reach out to you. Like you tell them how to do it. So it's kind of like a two-parter. Like one, like just where did that come from? Like it's crazy. But then two, like how many people actually do it? I'm just curious, like what you're telling people how to reach you. I'm just super curious.
Yeah.
So what caused you to do it? And then how many people actually follow through on this?
Yeah. So first and foremost, it was born out of sheer need. As you can imagine, having this brand on my LinkedIn profile attracts quite a bit of attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I get quite a bit of asks for my time. Everyone thinks that we can benefit from technology in a lot of right. We're a SaaS vendor just like a lot of others, even though we are trying to reinvent a number of other things that we may have taken for granted. But I'm a technologist in the day. My job is to integrate and deploy technology on behalf of go-to-market. So I was just getting inundated left and right. And I had expressed some of my frustrations like, man, this is like the hard part about working for such a relevant organization, if you will. And a friend of mine whom I used to work with was like, dude, you gotta like find a filter. And I was like, he's like, that filter is you put something very specific on your profile. And his Legos are life, which you saw on my profile. That is the subject line that I require out of sellers who want to pitch me. That was his contribution because he knows I love to tinker and play with Legos. I never grew out of that as a child, and I never will. And he's like, that's your filter. Now when they don't have that subject line, they haven't taken the minute at minimum that it takes to review your profile and to actually, formulate their pitch around your needs and your background and what you're talking about. So that's your immediate filter. Now the GPT idea, that was mine. I had to take credit for that. And that was because I was like, how can I push the threshold a little bit here and be an advocate for what it is we're trying to do as an organization. I may not be in sales myself, but I take a strict position as a go-to-market technologist that I am part of go-to-market, and anything and everything I can do to advocate for what our sellers, customer success, technical success, everyone else is doing here, anything I can do from my end, I'm going to do. So I was like, when we put out there into the ether that, hey, go try to use it, go sign up for it, and try to build something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, to answer your other question, quite a few people, actually.
There we go.
It has been really awesome. In fact, I have had some really great interactions with SDRs, AEs, others around the market saying like, this is incredible outreach. You've really gone the next level beyond what I asked, and it's been really cool to see.
I love it. And now you're going to have to keep track of all the references I make to Top Gun through the rest of this session. So I hope you're ready here, because I'm gonna pass this over to you, Meg, right? And just like, in Top Gun, where it's not the plane, it's the pilot, right? So as the pilot, right? Like, how are you actually leveraging this for personalization? Because it's one of those things that like people are saying like, oh, it can help you personalize. It can help you personalize. But then it's still, if you're not doing it the right way, spitting out kind of like garbage, right? It's like, all right, yeah, you have it, but not doing. How are you actually leveraging AI to actually personalize, right? Like as the pilot of the tool.
Yeah, I like to use AI as more of the framework. So if AI driven tools can give you an email template or email framework that gets you 90% of the way there, there's no excuse for the seller to not take, they saved all this time so they can get the bulk, they can get the meat done through AI. But then they need to take the time to personalize it. I also, like, if you start an email with, I hope this email finds you well, I am well, thank you, but I deleted this. Gartner says on average, you have 3 seconds to grab a buyer's attention and you have 9 seconds before they delete your email. I would cut that in half for me. So if you aren't putting something very specific to me at the beginning, whether it be in the title or in the first sentence, I'm just not going to read your email. So I like to teach AI, and we bring in tools into our sales tech stack that do deliver really great framework through AI and automation through AI. So the inputs and the outputs, and then really teach and drive home with the sellers, like you need to take that time savings to bring in the personalization. You can't tokenize everything. That's not that's just not realistic for the amount of outreach buyers get today.
Yeah, because what's wild to me is, personalization, we all know it will improve the results, right? But people always focused on more versus better, right? Like, and I'd be curious from both of y'all, Keith, you're getting it a little bit, but like I look at my inbox and like the personalization is non-existent, and I'm easy to personalize for. You can find me, like you could send ChatGPT, you could send it stuff. It could and it's, if I'm not getting personalized, I know a lot of other people are not getting personalized, work. And I think the way you put it was perfect. Is AI is that framework to give you back time to find, right? To find the personalization to put in there. And if it could really stop using the word dear. That's the only thing I've noticed. Like for whatever reason, ChatGPT really loves dear when it's writing some of these emails here. Keith, anything you want to add on the personalization side that you're seeing?
Yeah, actually, this was a really a topic that was near and dear to my heart that I covered during my time at Gartner, and that I continue to espouse into the marketplace. And I think it comes down to a matter of prioritization and being able to equip sellers to pick their battles wisely, right? Like we've hit on this whole time-saving aspect of generative AI and the capabilities that, say, specifically ChatGPT is can produce for you, but it's not a net gain if you're just using it, to sort of come up with spam across the board. You still have to treat it like another person in the room who, to your point earlier, you gotta ask questions and you gotta have a little bit of an exchange, right? So it does require some more time here and there in exchange for the productivity gain. That said, don't try to personalize your tier D prospect the same way that you're going to personalize your tier A, right? But if you don't know the difference from up and down and what's a D versus an A, and that's where I think as operators and leaders, that's where we have to step in and provide that direction. That's not to say that sellers can't do that themselves. There are many that are extremely capable of doing that. But I think it's not unfair to say at large, sellers have this such immense pressure to sell and to hit a number that they shouldn't be asked to also be very strategic about organizing, their account list and who's the right ICP and who isn't. So I think you've got to have those pieces in place so then you can strategically deploy these technologies where they matter the most.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Good infrastructure matters. If you're just throwing someone a list and you don't know how valid the information is or if the titles are right or where they're working at. I mean, people move around a lot. Like the data integrity, the value of your pipeline, like it matters, and you should make sure that the infrastructure is there before you add in tools that could be more junk than helpful, depending on the situation.
Actually, so keep going down that path, Meg, right? Like, so what are some of the challenges you're seeing, right, when teams try to implement this or other AIs? Because, people are talking about it and people are kind of doing it, but like, what are some of the challenges you're seeing, internally at your orgs, but also orgs that y'all work with when they try to do this in their go-to-market or sales functions?
I think there can be times where there's a perception that, oh, if I bring in this, I no longer have to manage it, or there doesn't need to be any operational oversight. And so you kind of like turn off one light switch and you turn on another, and that's not how it works. It is truly like an ecosystem, and it is a cycle, and AI only gets better as the data that's given to it, but so does your systems and so does your process. And so iterate, continue to change, look at open rate, look at click rate, all these different indicators of success, and then continue to work with tools like ChatGPT and other AI-driven tools to say, my emails that are less than 50 words get better read and click-through rates or response rates. Let's make all emails under 50 words. Like those type of things, continue to learn from it. It's not going to do everything for you.
Yeah, it's the classic. I'll give you another one here, Keith. Right, I got a need for speed. Right, like I want like orgs. It's almost like they're trying to move too fast. It's like they want to do it, so they go too fast. I can't remember which one of you said it, but it's like if the infrastructure isn't there, you moved quickly, but then you didn't set up your team well. You didn't set up your team, your skills, everything around it.
Well, so what's interesting to me, and I really want to hear both your thoughts on this, is we've done this before, and with a particular category of sales tech that is wildly popular. And I'm thinking sales engagement tools, your sales lofts, your outreaches, your grooves, right? That at their core allow a seller to orchestrate exponentially more activity than they can capably do with just typing manually, right? But how many of us have those horror stories of sellers, whether by design or by erroneous workflow, spamming people because now they can suddenly send 500 emails a day instead of 50, right? It's the exact same problem all over again. Meg nailed it with if you don't have the oversight and the infrastructure, you can't just turn one switch on and turn one off.
Yeah, there's a perception, like it's kind of, if you go back a few years ago, there was a big push in SaaS organizations of just activity-based metrics, and it was okay, 553, 5 meetings, five new meetings, and 3 opportunities a week, and that was the perception of success, not a reality of what was needed to build the pipeline to meet quota. Like those are two very different logics. And I feel like this can sometimes get lost in there, like that spray and pray approach. I hate spray and pray. And I also don't like that I have to put limits in tools so reps can't do it. But they don't understand, like it hurts your email health. It hurts other things. That hurts the company as a whole. And now there's so many privacy laws and whatnot that can really restrict your prospecting activity that you have to find that balance between operational rigor and speed.
Yeah, I think that's been my biggest fear. I'll say the first fear with AI was that people were going to leverage it to do more instead of being better. where it's like, oh, now I can just send more emails. I can go after more accounts versus like looking at that messaging and going, how do we make the messaging better? We don't need more emails. We don't need more of that. What if the 500 emails you were sending were actually good and relevant and tailored to the individual, the company, the trends that are going on in the market? Like that's where, you know, my hope for sellers is that they're using it to better understand their industries, to better understand the trends, right? Of like, if I'm going after a CFO in the automotive industry, that's a different bucket of trends that I could maybe educate them on, you know, because AI is a trend in itself right now. So actually, I'll throw this one over to you, Keith. Like, you know, you're front row, right? You're like, you might not even be in the row. Like you're outside the row. You're right in the muck of it. What are some of the trends you're seeing, right, in this space, or things that you're noticing? You know, I'll add a little caveat to this that maybe people don't realize it's capable of yet, that they could be better leveraging for sales, for leadership, for marketing. Like, what are some of the things you're seeing coming down the pipe right now?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest one that kind of stands out to me is connecting the disconnected workflows that exist in your sales organization today, right? I'm no stranger and actually quite sensitive to the friction that we create when we say go from app to app to app, right? Go to SalesLoft to do this, go to Outreach to do that, go to Clarity to do this. And yes, we can talk about consolidation and rev tech another time. That's a whole other rabbit hole of conversation. But, you know, this is generative AI doesn't care what tool the data comes from, right? If the data is reliable, it can do numerous things that you ask of it with what you give it. And so I think there's a really cool opportunity to, in the same way that CRM was originally envisioned as kind of this hub that you might go to for a variety of insights, I see kind of generative AI as like the interface on top of CRM, right? And on top of your tech stack and helping you navigate it. And so I think it's just, kind of being that connective tissue that isn't just integrated data, but being able to use all that data in one place for ideation, drafting content, thinking about things, even just asking questions out loud, right? How many times have we seen sellers be insanely productive because they could turn and ask someone this thing, or Slack or Teams, their colleague, and if they were working remotely, right? But that person might not be able to respond right away. Person might be on a call, and now you got someone who's available. I shouldn't say someone, right? It is a thing. It's not a person, but it is there at your request. And I think that that's a powerful, compelling notion.
Yeah, that's where I'm most excited around is right now. I feel like it's still very reactive for most orgs. They're using it reactively. My hope is the trend because like it's proactive. Hey, you have this call coming up. Let's prep for it, right? Like we're noticing these patterns. Hey, your last 9 deals have come from this type of industry, right? Like starting to be proactive on some of these things versus just reactive, I think is going to be key. Meg, what are you seeing in terms of trends or applications?
Yeah, I actually just brought in a conversational intelligence tool that uses AI for coaching. So you're talking about moving into the proactive. Well, what it's doing is it's not only is it automating, so it's pulling a summary, it's summarizing specific fields tied to our sales methodology, and then pushing that real time to Salesforce. So that helps with data integrity and speeds up our sellers. But it's also providing coaching. And when it's providing coaching, that's what we're training our sellers to then go in and say, before my next call, I'm going to see what I missed, or I'm going to see about some opportunities. Well, we started as a B2C company. Rev went into enterprise not that long ago. So we don't have this robust frontline sales leader organization where they can coach calls in the moment and they have this cadence. This provides that feedback, self-serve, and it gives them some suggestions to move forward. And to me, like, that's where I see AI going from a proactive standpoint is, yes, it can give you scripts, it can give you email templates, it can do all those things, but it can also teach you how to be better next time, which will make you a better seller.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's one of the things that, so my big moment was actually January of last year after some of the start was going. I was like, I sat down and I wrote down all the things that I do as a leader. I was like, what is it that makes me halfway decent at leading and building teams. I wrote all this
Mhm.
stuff down, and I had 3 columns: what I thought AI could do now, what I thought it could do in 3 years, what I thought it could do in 5. And I went through that, and there weren't many check boxes open by the end of that list. And one of the biggest ones that I felt like has helped me as a leader was pattern recognition, like picking up on patterns. This seems to be working on these types of calls. These types of industries seem to be better. This type, like picking up the patterns, and AI is so good at pattern recognition. What are the similarities of my last 10 deals? What are the similarities across these calls that are closing? Like, I love to ask it similarity and pattern questions of like, ooh, this happened on all of these calls. Maybe that's something we can proactively coach around and go through. Keith, anything you want to add there?
I think all I'll say there is what I love that I think you're doing there is this litmus test you're running of what is something that I am capable of doing myself, but I wish I could commit a lot more time and energy to do more consistently, more effectively, right? And that's the general sort of like approach I try to preach when it comes to sales tech, right? Is like, what is it going to do that you would normally try to do yourself,
Yes.
but it would either take you a lot longer to go or a lot more trial and error to go through, right? If you can identify those things that you just wish you had more time and energy for that are somewhat repetitive or somewhat easy conclusions to draw from, it's like there's a chance that a machine is capable of doing that. And because it's a machine, it can do it exponentially faster and more repeatable than you ever will be as a human. And that's okay, because there's plenty of things that we as humans can do the machines can't. The goal is to figure out which ones are which.
And Meg mentioned this earlier, even if it can get it within 90% of me, that's perfect. I didn't have to spend the 90%, and I can do that 10% that is unique to me or is a zone of genius for me. And that's where I think a lot of companies and users go wrong. Is like, this isn't as good as I could do it. You're missing the point. It's not that it's as good as you, it's that it took 80% of it away from you. And now you can only focus on the 20% that makes this unique. And this is a shift, right? It's a shift in mindset, it's a shift in culture. And as we wrap up here, we have 3 minutes left. What I'd like to end with is like, to do this does require a cultural shift, right? Like internally, it's like, how are you all approaching it with your own teams or seeing it successful outside of like to shift the culture to a place of innovation, a place open to change? Because this is a big change. This is scary to a lot of people. So like, how are you approaching the cultural, almost like the emotional element of this within your orgs?
Yeah, I'll take that one first, and then Maggie, if you want to see what makes sense to you. But for me, it's about getting the buy-in first. And having a small group of champions who are committed to experimenting and trying new things. That's never going to be your entire sales team. There's always going to be a few people that you have that are always willing to try something different to get to the goal better. And you got to find those people in your org and then work with them to figure out what habits are worth trying to form and institute inside of your sales org on the back of these technologies. If you can do that, then you can just keep iterating over and over again with that small group and then expanding out to everybody else as you find proof points. But that's the end all be all for me on it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You do things with people, not to people. And so finding those in, I know it's a good one, steal it.
Right, bring that.
That's good.
The why matters. Teach the why, especially as leaders. That's our responsibility. And I would just add, I've had sales leaders, especially me coming in from an AI and human hybrid company, say, well, we're all just going to lose our jobs. And I tend to stop them and say, I get how this could feel scary, but this is going to happen, and how you use it and how you embrace it will help you stay ahead of the curve on the change. You don't want to be we were talking about before, the MySpace, like these companies that said, oh, this isn't going to stick, because I think it is. But the buying process requires empathy, because that buyer is a human. And so that's where sellers can really lean into their EI and really help buyers through sometimes a really difficult procurement process to make that sale, but they can use these tools to take away the cumbersome non-revenue generating activities that maybe get in their way sometimes because that's not their skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of it, embrace it, but it's okay. It's not going to fit every organization the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what's really important to call out as we kind of wrap here. Like my take on all this is if anyone's going to replace me, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
That is my take and that is my stance. If anyone's going to replace me, it's going to be me. I'm going to figure out how to replace myself before someone else comes in and does it. But what I really like that you called out there, Meg, is the human element in all of this. As we talk about AI, as we talk about generative AI, ChatGPT, all this, these are all tools. There's still a human element that we bring to this process, that we bring in the sales motion. And just remember that emotion. This is scary. Change scares people. And this is something that we need to realize as we go through all this. So we're at time here. Let's wrap this up here. Parting thoughts. Keith, parting thought on all. We've talked tactics, we've talked stories, we've talked ideas. What is your parting thought on this commitment to technology and innovation?
At the risk of overquoting Top Gun here, and just taking another sort of stab on one of the infamous quotes you said earlier, which is not the plane but it's the pilot. It comes down to the man or the woman in the box, right? Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, whoever you have on your team to help find the future that's best for you, kind of built around these tools, around generative AI, that's what it's going to come down to. Mm-hmm. The tool is never going to do 100% of what you need it to do, or what you think it ought to do, I think is probably a better way to phrase it. And to your point earlier, Kevin, it's not going to replace you, but someone with it might. Mm-hmm. So figure out how to use it now and get the right people on your team to help determine what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Meg, bring us home.
Yeah. I would just say, look at where you want your company or your team to be at in the next 12, 18, 36 months. You're not going to get a ton of headcount just because you have all these needs. Be smart, iterate, move on quickly when things don't work, and try something new because you never know the time savings or the skill you're going to gain by doing it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I actually added this to my calendar once a month, is to look at what I'm doing, saying, what could AI do?
Yeah, try to cut a third of it. See what happens.
What could I do, right? Like I made a presentation. Why did I do that? AI could have done that, right? To go through all this. So amazing stuff. Meg, Keith, thank you so much for your time, for your energy, your insights on all of this. I know I will be following y'all for all the tips and ideas and everything else. If y'all aren't already connected with them on LinkedIn, be sure to find them on LinkedIn to reach out. But come back for us. I believe our next session is at 12:40. I don't know which time zone that is because we're already past that. So 40 past the hour, wherever you are in the world, to go with Jared Robin, good friend of mine, talking go-to-market strategy. So thank you, everybody, for your time, your energy, your engagement today. We're out. We did it. Thanks, y'all.
Bye. Have a great day, y'all.
This week's Tech Trends is also for my marketing friends, and I'm talking about lead attribution nightmares. Right? And lead attribution, look, if you're in sales, you might be like, Jake, I don't even lead attribution. This has a big impact on you because if you're in sales and your team does not know how to do this correctly, you're probably spending a lot of time with people that are never going to buy. So if you're tired of the lead attribution maze, you feel like you're chasing shadows instead of leads, you're not alone, okay? I can tell you we work with hundreds of companies every year and they all struggle with this. And there's a few usual culprits that I want to get into. Here's the deal. The world is obsessed with last touch, that final thing, that last click before someone converted to a conversation. But focusing solely on the last touch is like reading the last page of a mystery novel and claiming that you've solved the case. You're missing the entire story, the entire play, all the different things that led up to that specific point. First, let's stop worrying about last touch and let's worry about the plays. Right? What do I mean by the plays? What I mean are, what are all of the touch points that happened with that individual? So instead of us just trying to look at where did they come from and tagging things there, we need to have a way where we can track, did they interact with a salesperson? Did they interact with a piece of content? Did they interact with pricing? And we need to track those individually, right? And then as we start to look at what's working and what's not working, we're able to see the holistic play. Okay, so you might think that the concept of plays is hard. And let me tell you, it's not necessarily the easiest component of this. But the beautiful part is now there are new AI tools that can analyze these patterns and surface them to you. And I'll link to a couple of them below, right? So what they can do is they can help you to start to like look at, okay, it's this combination of things that like actually, because someone viewed this reviews, the sales team sent over reviews of you compared to the competition, or if they get to the pricing page, we know that that's going to increase our likelihood to close. But we have to have a way, and I'm telling you, AI is the way to do that, to look at what are the right plays, so then we can really start to experiment. Lastly, once we've moved away from the mindset of just trying to overfocus on last touch, we put in place some technology that can help us to analyze plays. We need to have a centralized place for all of our data. This is such a big one, and I cannot tell you these data silos and why they have such a negative impact on lead attribution. First, we usually have this kind of marketing automation tool. It's doing some type of analysis. It's like half-ass feeding the data to your CRM. Your CRM may or may not be capturing all the data that's being fed there. Then you have your website, your Google Analytics. Again, I'll link to a couple to make life easier for you. And these aren't affiliate links. I'm not getting paid for a click. These are just tools I know that can help you to bring this all together. So again, a lot of these challenges that we used to have, it used to be we lived in a world where people said, it's fine, Jake, it's always messy. It's never perfect. It's like, no, it can be perfect now. Like if you've went through this lead attribution maze and you don't know where to go, I'm telling you, it is solvable now. We'll put a link to a few of these different technologies for you to go and take a look at as well. So if you're out there, you're a marketer or you're a salesperson who's fed up or a sales team that's fed up, this is how you solve it. All right, so there you have it, my friends. That is 3 very tactical ways to solve that lead attribution funnel. If you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe, check out the Innovative Seller, and we're going to get into some of your questions.
What are your top recommendations for using data analytics to refine sales strategies and improve conversion rates?
Everyone wants to measure everything, and with a lot of data tools, I see us getting so focused on getting all the right information 100% perfect. The reality is you need to make sure that the right information is perfect. And if you don't know the top 1, 2, 3 metrics that you're trying to move the needle on, that can move the needle on your revenue organization, you are going to spend a lot of time, Excel spreadsheets, analyst time, pulling together a bunch of data that nobody's going to use. So step 1 for me is always make sure we can track what measures. And then, most important, step 2, we have a process to do something about it on a consistent basis. I see people are like, yeah, our deal cycle's running long, or we want to shrink our sales cycle. And it's like, yeah, cool, well, let's do something about that in Q4. It's like, why not just try a new script or something? So I see a lot of things get surfaced, but then people just don't know what to do with it. So you have to have both of those. Track the right things, less things, and then have a mechanism in place to deploy changes versus just sitting on the information.
How can sales teams better leverage AI tools for lead generation and qualification without losing the personal touch that customers value?
Well, I think, again, we've got to try to move away from this idea of like, we think generative AI is going to do our job for us. And I think instead, I think of it less about even qualification or those types of things. Again, I've talked before about send an email ahead of time, but that's not really AI, right? I think we need to stop looking at being so focused on qualifying people so that people aren't spending time in the wrong places. And instead, it's like, how do we arm our people to have higher quality conversations? So I'm a big fan of, hey, how can I leverage AI to make sure when we get on that first call, I know as much about that person as possible. I know as much about that prospect as possible. So what can I do to make sure that that person or that individual is like, wow, that person showed up, right? Versus did I automate things or did I only get them in front of the right people?